My guest today is Jason Janis. In April of 2020, he had a profound near death experience. His near death experience occurred while he was in the ICU. COVID caused tumors to develop in his lungs that later ruptured, causing him to drown in his own blood. His near death experience has profoundly altered his life. He shares his story and thoughts about our purpose here on planet Earth, about religion, Christianity, and more. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. I am honored to have you as my guest.
Thank you for having me. I'm the one who's honored. It truly is an honor. Thank you.
And my viewers like to hear about new near-death experiences. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yours?
Sure. Well, it's coming up on 4 years now. It was April of 2020. So basically, right when the pandemic thing was going around and people were talking about what's this, and I was sitting at work. We had a big powwow, a big meeting, and I'm like, man, you know, I'm I'm almost 50 years old. I mean, like, what's going to kill me? Nothing. I mean, I was like, I'm a guy. Nothing's gonna kill me. Whatever. This stuff's stupid. So whatever. So that night I had come home. It was April 2nd. I was extraordinarily tired, and I'd been waking up with the taste of blood in my mouth for a couple weeks. I'm like, did I bite my tongue or lip or something? No, no. I was like, man, I don't want to go to work. I'm tired. I would just much rather sleep. Anyways, went to work, came home, sat down on the couch here, made myself a sandwich. I really wasn't that hungry, but I had to eat. I took a bite of sandwich. Everything's going good, watching a little TV, and then all of a sudden I went to take another bite. I like verped, it threw up in my mouth, and I was like, oh, that was horrible. I mean, it was a taste like I've never tasted before. I was like, and then I went to take another bite of my sandwich, and just bright red blood just covered my sandwich, and I'm like, what's this? And I'm like, and coughing again and more blood, and I'm like, and it's bright red. We're not talking like when you cut your finger and it's dark red. We're talking bright red as an apple, like bright red. And I'm like, and now it's just coming up. Now all of a sudden I'm doing, I can't breathe, and frantically. So I get on my cell phone. I start frantically texting or FaceTiming my ex-wife. She's a nurse, an RN. And I'm like, she finally answered the phone, and I'm in the kitchen now because I'm coughing up blood. I now filled the sink with blood, and she goes, what do you want? And I'm like, I need your help. And I just blood covered the phone, and she jumped up and she's like, Jason. I said, I don't feel good. I'm sorry. I'm going to go lay down. And this was the last words I ever remember her saying. She goes, Jason, Jason, please don't go lay down. Jason, you lay down, you're going to die. I'm like, I'm tired. I need to lay down. And she hung up, and I'm like, wow. I was like, why couldn't our marriage be like that? And I was like, that was a great conversation. And after that, I have no clue what happened. All I remember was waking up in the hospital. It's now dark. I had a tube in my mouth, so I was intubated. I had IV in the neck, stuff in the nose. My hands and feet were strapped to the bed, tied to I couldn't move them more than maybe an eighth of an inch up. Myriad of people around me. Jason, Jason, do you know where you are? Jason, But from the moment my eyes awoke, I turned to the upper left of the room. There was somebody standing there. I couldn't see him. I could feel it. And when I mean feel it, I could feel a presence there. It was a presence that it's just hard to describe, other than it was a yearning to go there, And the entire time that I was awake, I was staring at that TV. Now, people say, well, Jason, there's no TVs in the ICU, but you have to understand, the ICU was full. I was in the infectious disease ward, and it was full of dying people, And so I'm sitting there looking at this presence. Now, mind you, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit about who I was as a kid, okay? I was a very sensitive little boy, and now I know why, because I was an empath. I'm an empath. So I was a very sensitive little boy, very shy little boy, very minded my own business, and did not like confrontation. Still to this day, I do not like it. I'll end it any way I can, even if it means me losing. I don't like it. I've always wanted to make people laugh and smile and make sure that they were okay. And now I understand that's an empath. But I was always hurt. I grew up in a very abusive household, beaten. Um, and it was difficult for me as a child. It was very, very difficult. I mean, not to say that I didn't have good times, but my parents weren't religious as far as I know, especially my mother, who I lived with. She was an alcoholic, and we'll just leave it there. There's no place to bash. It's not what it's about. At a very early age, I learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to cook at age 5. I learned how to clean, bathe myself, change the channel, go, all those kinds of things, just so, um, those kinds of avoidances were possible. So I grew up that way, and I grew up with my grandmother. Um, so every weekend I would go to see my dad, and then eventually I moved up there. And my grandmother was extremely religious. She's the one that gave me my spiritual or my religious background in Christianity. So from a very early age, I believed the Bible was God's written word, his very breath, heaven and hell, good and bad, right and wrong, you know. And when I was a little boy, I started experimenting. I was like, what's this? And I'm like, wow, does this happen to you? And we have to say, yeah, playing. Well, Bible says, same sex kind of thing is punishable by, you know, damnation. You'll burn in hell. Great. I'm doomed. There's nothing I can do. So I grew up with an I just don't care attitude. I became very angry, very belligerent, very mean. Started doing drugs in high school, just pot, and deep to drinking and stuff like that. But I became very withdrawn as a late as like a 10-year-old. I really withdrew into me, and instead of doing what we came here to do, which is to have fun, go do your thing, I really withdrew. And I lived my life that I lived my whole life that way. I just did what I wanted, when I wanted, how I wanted. Didn't care if I stepped on you, hit you, beat you, didn't matter. I just did things Jason's way. And I had a very rough life, very rough life. Poverty, I mean, barely scraping by, just a rough life. And we'll get into it in a minute. I always felt very unworthy my whole life. I'm such a sensitive little boy, and I'm taking these things to heart when somebody says something, that hurt me, and that's the empath. I didn't know what it was. I just figured God didn't love me. Clearly he hates me. Um, and okay, so I quit speaking to God when my grandmother took me to go to church one morning. About this is like 78, 79, about 8 or 9. I kicked her, and I said, "Don't you ever," and I sat up real stiff. "Don't you ever wake me up for that crap again. Don't you ever." I said, "God doesn't care about me. He doesn't. So I don't care. I'll do it my way." And I had a very rough life, very rough life. Got married, had kids, but just wasn't good. If you're unwilling to give yourself, like all of yourself, and communicate, a relationship will not work. I don't care if it's man to man, girl to girl, it will not work. If you're not willing to put the time, the effort, and the love in, which is the key word there, the love, it'll never work. And true to his word, didn't. So we'll fast forward now. So that was my spiritual upbringing. So I believed in heaven and hell. I believed in the Bible. I believed it was God's written word. I was an altar boy when I went to Catholic school. I did all of that. I believed in it so firmly that I became so lost and afraid that I quit caring, because I knew I was going to burn in hell for the things that I had done, right? drinking drugs, this, that, So now we're going to fast forward back to the ICU room, right? So now I'm in the ICU room. I haven't spoken to God since 1978. Now, did I quit believing? No, I didn't quit believing, but I quit having an intimate relationship with my Father, God. I quit talking to him. I quit asking anything of him or Jesus. Jesus isn't your savior anyway, but he loves you, so we'll just use him in the Christian doctrine anyway. I quit having a relationship with either or. I didn't care, you know. And the whole time that this is going on, that I'm doing these things, drinking, abusing my body, abusing people, and ever, you know, my guides are right there with me. My archangel is right there with me. You're never alone, which I'm about to find out. So now, for the first time, I cried out to God. There was nobody in the room. They had taken me off the ventilator. I was okay. I had survived by, I don't know. So I'm off the ventilator. I lost 75 pounds. I couldn't talk. And I'm staring at the TV because I feel an undeniable presence, and it never, the month that I was in there, it never left. It never moved. It was right there. And no one was in the room. And I got up onto my elbows and I was shaking. I had no energy. Hadn't eaten in a month. I was lethargic, and I cried out to God for the first time. And I was sobbing uncontrollably. And I was like, please. And if I start crying now, it's because I'm feeling home. Please bear with me. I was like, please, God, please. And I'm talking to the TV, mind you, because I have a feeling, it's please don't let me die. And I'm like, please don't take my children from me. Please don't take my daughters. Please. I said, I'm sorry for abandoning you. I truly am. I said, I never stopped believing. I said, but I love you. I love Jesus. I love you. I said, and there's somebody here that I will be together, but I'm working on it, manifesting it. I said, please don't take her from me. Please, please. And I went into very specific details. And I said, please. And all of a sudden, in that moment, I was out of my body and I was encased in this love and this light. It was so profound. It was so beautiful and pure and innocent. And I was like, I saw everything around me, the whole ICU, everything. And as I'm staring at the TV, I could see every blade of grass 5 floors down, moving independently. I could see their soul, and I could see every serration in the blade of grass. And I'm still staring at the TV, and the grass was so happy to see me. And it was like sending me love, and I felt the love. I felt the love of the tree. I could see the tree's soul, and they were so happy to see me. And I'm like, I'm young. The pain is gone. And I was like, oh, and, like juiced. And I'm like, I'm home. And it was a thought. And I said, I'm home. I was like, how would I know that? How would I know I'm home if I've never been there before? And I know who was standing in front of me, who the light is. That was God. That was me. And I merged with it and I became one with everything. Such amazing love. That's a love that you will never find in this realm, ever. I don't care how much you love your children. You will never find that love. It's here. We are that love. And I realized in that moment I had done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I was like, I've been lied to my whole life. And I was like, and I was embraced. And then Jesus showed up to would be my 12, I was like 10 o'clock over here. So my gaze never left. So when I say I'm trying to talk to people that don't understand, is that you see everything around you. There's no turning your head. There's no this, that, or the other thing. So, of course, my attention goes there. Sorry for the tears. Jesus showed up, and there was so much more love. like being stifled, like somebody, and it was so warm. It was as warm as the sun. And I was just like, I'm home. And I said, the thought came, and I said, what a beautiful day to die. Like, it was absolutely nothing like I've done it before. And I was like, and then all of a sudden, two hands, which were on my soul at the time, then Jesus pushed me back into my body, and then he laid me back down on the bed, and I laid back down, and I was instantly out. Now that moment could have taken 10 hours. It could have taken 5 minutes, 5 seconds. I have no idea. Time simply does not exist, and yes, I was above my body. I was at the ceiling, because now I'm even with, instead of looking up at the TV like this, now I'm face to face with the TV, and everything, I can see everything. The colors, they don't exist here. The green was the most magnificent green. It was alive. The colors inside were like moving. It was like liquid. It was just flowing inside the blade of grass. And I was like, and the tree, the bark of the tree and the blue of the sky, they're not from here. It's not of this earth, or this physical realm. And I was like, I'm home. I'm home. But it was more of a, when I said I'm home, it was more of a shock, because in that moment, I know everything. I knew everything there ever was. I was one with everything. So knowing I was home, but it was like, I'm not supposed to be here kind of thing. It was like, I'm home. Okay, I don't think I should be home right now. And of course, as we'll discuss a little later, we all plan our NDEs when we're planning our lives. So the reason that presence was there is my Father, God, knew it was going to happen. I didn't. So, the surprise on Jason, hey, here you go. Yeah, it was dealing with it afterwards. So, after I left and got home and stuff like that, I fell into a deep depression. um Now I'm stuck back in the physical world. Now I see both worlds. I feel both worlds all the time. Right now, when I was talking about, I'm feeling home. um so I'm in this realm. I came back home to eviction notices. My car had been repossessed. I had to sell furniture to buy some ramen noodles to eat. um I went through hell. I went through hell, you know. And in the meantime, I'm still feeling home. I see flashes of light. I'll see a presence walk by. Oh, it just became overwhelming, and the empath in me is feeling all of this, and and I'm like, I had to shut it down. I wish I didn't, because it's so hard to get it back. You really have to work, and I'm working on it. I'm starting to see the flashes again. Um, but I had to shut it down to find peace, to heal myself, and it was an uphill battle. And I realized, and this is where we're going to lead into what you and I were just discussing beforehand, is how powerful your thoughts are. Okay. Whether you speak it out loud like I am now, or they're unspoken, you are the creator of your world. Your physical world that you see in your own life, like I see mine, you created since the time of your inception. Okay. The world you see and everything that's taking place on your daily life is courtesy of you, spoken or unspoken. They are powerful, extremely powerful. Okay. They go into the non-physical. They're going to merge with those other energies, whether positive or negative, and now they're going to come back to you. Okay. So the non-physical, which is home, heaven, is a genie in a bottle, basically. Whatever you ask of it, it will come. But you have to be open to receive. It's good to give, right? Like, I'm giving you my time, I'm giving you me, I'm giving you my love, but it's also good to receive. If you're not willing to receive, they can't give you anything, can they? I felt unworthy my whole life, unworthy of love, unworthy of money, unworthy of anything. So, what did I have my whole life? A very hard life. I had no money. Why? Because I believed in poverty. I believed in suffering. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be poor and I'm going to suffer.
I think that it's very common for people who are more spiritually inclined to have more difficult lives. And I don't know if that's because it leads to our spiritual experience. We've just had enough and we need to, experience something else to let us know, hey, it's going to be okay. Or if it's because we're so sensitive, because spiritually inclined people are, like you said, empaths that we don't fit into this world properly. But I have noticed that spiritually inclined people do have more difficult lives, and maybe like I said, it's just one feeds off the other. But I find that very interesting. And I wanted to ask you a question and go back to your near death experience about when you were
Sure.
talking about you were God, this father figure in front of you merged with it. So is that ultimately your true being? Is that you are this one with this all knowing creator of everything?
Correct. We are the direct manifestation of our Father. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit. I did a video on my own YouTube channel because a lot of people were suffering through fear. You lived in fear, right? I lived in fear. Everybody is living in fear. A little bit of fear is okay because it keeps you on your toes, but when it hampers you, it's a problem. So I'm going to tell you a little story about fear, how we became fearful. So, and this came with knowledge, it still keeps coming. So, to separate yourself from God is physically impossible because you are God. Right now, there are 8 billion gods down on this earth living simultaneously. So, Father is experiencing 8 billion different things at once. Okay. We are the direct manifestation. So, we wanted to experience things. So, we're created. So, now you'll understand the story when I start talking about it, biblically wise. So, we said, it's physically impossible to separate ourselves, right? We are the exact same composition. We are love. Our Father is love. We are light. Our Father is light. And we are energy, a very powerful energy, a very creative, powerful energy. That is our Father. We are our Father. Okay. So, how am I going to do that? So we came up with a pretty slick idea. I'm going to dream. I'll just, you know what? I'll go dream this. And here we go. So instead of being one, which I was in that moment, what did we do? We separated ourselves and called ourselves an individual. Oh, and what did that breed? It instantly bred fear and guilt because now we separated ourselves from home to have this experience, right?
Do
Sounds
you,
like the fall from grace, being kicked out of heaven, doesn't it?
it does
Yeah,
sound like that.
it's exactly what it was. So it bred fear and guilt. So when we come here, we still have to go before our Father and say, hey, before we can go to sleep, because you just do not incarnate because mom and dad wanted to get their groove on. No, mom and dad got their groove on because you're going to come at this point in time. Everything's carefully coordinated. So there is no coincidences, like, oops, that was a quickie. No, it was meant to happen. So in the Bible, we can go any further where, all right, in our first incarnations, right, what did he do? God came, okay, created us clothes out of animals, right? Showed us how to hunt, fish, camp, right? Okay, now you're on your own. Okay. So and now all of a sudden we're cut off from home. Whoa, this sucks. I feel pain. That hurt. So now we're experiencing all these for the first time, right? But we're living in fear because we're scared. Now there's night. We only know light. Okay. Now there's darkness. Now, that fear is inbred in us. So it's coming back to that oneness is what, I'm trying to get people into when I talk about my story is you have nothing to be afraid of. First of all, you're never alone. We were given two keys to find our way home here. We were never abandoned or just dropped off and, no, to be truthful, God doesn't want us here. he created us to be with him, to be, but we were like, we got to try this, and so here we are, and to further the illusion, right? You're looking at me as a man. I'm looking at you as a woman. I'm talking to myself essentially. Okay. But to further the illusion of separation is male and female. Oh, he's a boy. You're talking to me. You're talking to yourself right now. We're all one. So there are essentially 8 billion different versions of Jason Janis running around this earth right now. Okay. For most, that's hard to understand or comprehend, but we are not, this is not who I am. Okay. This is nothing more than a vehicle to get me around in a physical realm. Just like you go into your car to go to the grocery store, go to work, go to wherever, right? Are you your car? No. Are you your body? No. No, you're not. It's a vehicle, it's a tool. But yet we fall under the illusion so far that we worship our bodies. We put makeup on, we'll tattoo them up, and some of us will be, but some of us worship the wrong gods, worship food, so we get big. You know, we're worshiping the wrong things. This is nothing more than a tool, no different than a pen or a pencil. Your shirt, your clothes, is a tool. You are not your body. Okay, you are not. You are love, you are light, and you are energy. You are an extremely powerful, divine being of immense power. We're just lost. Okay. So, in my job, and anybody's in an NDE, is that's willing to take that step and go further, like I am, to tell people who they are, to tell people that the Bible's wrong. Okay. I was lied to my whole life. There is no hell, doesn't exist. There is no right or wrong or good or bad. We simply made a mistake. We're simply role playing for one another. Okay. This is one big giant playground. It's the matrix. It's a dream. Nothing here is real. Okay. So this video or this interview taking place isn't just happening because, someone referred you to me. We set this up long before we came here, long before we came here. But to us, it feels new. But you have to remember, you came up to me, hey, you're going to go through this, right? Would you, and so we get together, we powwow, and we get all these things together, and then all of a sudden, whoop, we scatter, and we're off into different timelines, and we're born in different things, so we can experience these things. So I can sit here in front of you right now and tell you this story of my amazing and most beautiful, profound near-death experience, and it makes sense because I've had a couple out of bodies experience, and one of them was a profound one. Actually, both of them were highly profound. And I learned more information in them, which I can talk, if you would like me to talk about them, I
Yes,
can.
please do. I enjoy hearing about out of body experiences. I think there's a lot of parallels between out of body experiences and near death experiences, even though they're initiated by a different circumstance. I think that they can be very similar. So, yes, please, we can talk about those as well.
Okay. Um, so it was after my out of bodies. I've had two meetings with Archangel Michael in the flesh, my archangel. Now, he's other, he's with other people too, but he just happens to be mine. So 2 years after my NDE, now, like I said, I was going through, deep depression, and I'm like, how do I tell somebody what happened to me? They're going to think I'm nuts. There's no way. No, they're going to lock me up. Nope, they're going to think I'm nuts and crazy. So when I came home, I was on a mission. It's like, what happened to me? So I started typing into Yahoo, hospital, this, and all of a sudden this, thing popped up as NDE. And I was like, a near death experience. So I typed that into YouTube, right? And 2 years ago was the first time I ever used YouTube. I had no need of it, want of it, or whatever. I type it into YouTube, and I was like, near death experience of this person. And I'm like, so I hit this guy. He was an older guy, and started talking about some things. And I'm like, And then he started talking about and it's like being in the light and the love, and he was crying. I was like, that's it. This is it. This happened to him too. How could he know that? How could he know that? So I was like, I don't know, I just a binge of listening to people, reading stories, and I finally somebody's like, I went to my pastor because I needed to talk to somebody. He had a look of horror on his face as I'm talking about this. He was scared shitless. He sat there. He couldn't wait to get me out of there. He's like, I want you to talk to the congregation. I want you to talk to, all of these people. And he never returned a phone call. It was basically, he told me what, just to get me out of there. And I came into church and he's like, you're not welcome. And I was like, that was it. I was like, yep, that was the truth. In my NDE, I was shown the truth because Father knew I would talk about it and say, he's tired of it. He's tired of the religion. He's tired of people being kept from who they truly are from religion, especially the most powerful religion there is, Catholicism. I left religion. I left it 2 years afterwards. My deconstruction took that long. It should have, but the guilt, the fear, the shame, all of the ego, that's the ego talking, right? And I was like, no. So then I went on the ego trip. I was like, who is the ego? What is that? So I had to look up the ego, and I was like, wow, we've basically for millennia, since before Jesus's time, even, we've given the reins over to the ego. The ego runs the show. We don't, right? And so now it's been on a journey of killing my ego and becoming my true self, who I am. And I still have work to do. I'm in the process of writing a book. I started my own YouTube channel, my website. It's growing. So, but anyway, we'll get into an out of body experience 2 years ago. It's very emotional. Like I was crying today. I was like, why didn't, so get this. I'm complaining to God, my father, right, about having the most beautiful experience of my life and saying, why did you keep me in the hospital? I'm walking from my bedroom to this couch. I'm like, everybody else gets to go through the tunnel. And I stayed at the top of the high CU. How come I couldn't go through the tunnel? How come you didn't take me home? You know, and I was just like, I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to be in this physical realm anymore. It is so hard, especially after an NDE. It is, I can still feel it like it happened 2 seconds ago, So anyways, I come back, lay down on this couch, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was gone. I was yanked. My apartment was gone. The world was gone. I entered a tunnel, a pitch black tunnel, and I entered the void. Now, you may have heard about the void. Can talk about that in a minute. But I'm traveling through this tunnel. And when I mean void of anything, light, dark, I mean, I could still think, I could still talk, I could still feel, but yet it was absence of all light. All light was gone. And I'm traveling through this tunnel at the speed of light. And how far away? I don't know. But it was about the size of a pinhead, this little white dot in this endless mass of black. No stars, no light, no sound, nothing. And I'm traveling. And then like a light white, grayish white started coming through the tunnel. And I felt the unconditional love again. And I'm like, he heard me. He's listening. I'm going home. And and now the white is like a little 1 inch line, and it's just like, and I'm moving so fast. Nobody was around me. I didn't feel it. I just felt the unconditional love again. And I'm moving and I'm like through this tunnel. And now, it's just like all I see in front of me is white. It's just most magnificent white I have ever seen. Pure, untainted, innocent, home. I'm going home, and then all of a sudden it's all around me. This white light is engulfed. There is no nothing. And I'm like right up there. I'm like, I'm going home. And woof, I was back in my I was like, had the shit-eating grin on my face. It's like, he's here. He's listening. I'm God. He's listening to me, you know? And that was the absolute validation. It's like, you're never alone. He heard every word I was saying to him. He heard every word and he's okay. All right. So he took me home. Had I crossed into that light, had I crossed that barrier, this body would have died instantly. It would have been just, it would have been dead. So you're never alone. I don't care what you're going through, what experience you're going through, whether you're walking to your car, going to the bathroom, doing laundry. He's right there with you. Your archangel, your protector is with you. Your guides are with you. You are surrounded. Even though I'm in this apartment alone, it's filled with angels. Oh, I mean, come on. I'm the luckiest, and I'm just not me, but it's like it's the most beautiful thing ever. And I've had a very hard life. I chose to have a very hard life. And I asked myself, why would anybody want to have this? It's not about you. It's not about me, right? It's about helping 8 billion other versions of me find peace, find happiness, find the strength to say, I am a beautiful being. I am love. I am loved. I can do this and get through it and face that challenge that you don't want to face, because you set it for yourself. It's a learning, it's a growth, it's how we grow. And to find out all of that was just beautiful. Does it make it any easier for me? No, but I've learned to meditate since this last August. I had another spiritual experience. And I learned how to meditate. Not very well, but I have learned to access my power. And it feels right now like a night when I meditate, it'll feel like a 9-volt battery. I'll just feel this woof, I'm like, come on now. This this is beautiful, and I'll be manifesting my new life and it's come true. Or it's starting to. But that was my first out of body experience. And that was 2 years after my NDE. Now, this last March, I was coming out of sushi, having sushi. I was like, started to change my dietary habits, like quit drinking and eating candies and sodas, and really started to think of health, you know, or think of my vehicle, my body, think of it that way. So come out of sushi. There's this bum sitting by the back of my Jeep, and I was with somebody, um, and I wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself. I've had two meetings with Archangel Michael. I mean, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of if that was the first out of okay. And then I had my first meeting with Archangel Michael. I was at work. We'll get to the sushi, guys. I'm sorry. Um, so I'm at work. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's there. I'm in a 500,000 square foot building. Okay, nobody. Pitch dark. Winter. I come around the corner. Somebody's standing there, and I'm like, whoa. Like, where did you come from? I didn't even hear you. All of a sudden, poof, you're just standing in front of me. It's like he literally walked out of that dimension and was standing in front of me without any noise. I'm like, whoa, when he goes, I'm just a little dirty, come into the bathroom because that's where I was going. So he's like, come on in. So we had this beautiful conversation, right? Um, he was a beautiful man, beautiful, beautiful skin, nice square jaw, very nice haircut, meticulous, very short beard, brown, And as I was talking, it got into my near death experience. And of course, we're exuding love, right? And now I'm feeling drained. I'm like, home. There's no hugging, kissing, loving, any of that. There's no physical contact. We're not in a body. It doesn't exist. We don't want it. So, um, I'm starting to feel drained. So when we're home, we exchange energies. That's how we communicate. Okay. So we're exchanging energies and I'm getting sucked dry. So as we're talking about this, he's just looking up at the ceiling and smiling. And I'm like, what's with this guy? There's something going on here. It's odd. I can't place it. Why can't it feels oddly beautiful. I've done this before, but I was just like, you're dumb in that moment. It's like, and he looks at me and he moves over here a little bit to my left a little bit. And then he just put his head down and he's like, your name is Jason, right? And I was like, whoa, whoa, I never told you my name. Whoa, whoa. And I'm like, yes, it is. And he went to shake my hand, and God, the strength within him was, I had never felt strength like that. He could have crushed my hand and turned it into dust, literally dust. I mean, it was amazing. He just kept smiling, and he turned to walk away, and he looked over his shoulder and he says, Jason, I'll see you again soon. He walked out that door, and I'm like, nah, you're not. Well, nah, I got to find out. I walked out, nobody. Half an hour went by. There's nobody. He walked out a door. I was 3 seconds behind him. Where could he have gone? He was an angel. It was it was Archangel. I was like, all right. So I went upstairs now and I laid down on this couch. It's like, what went on? And I'm trying to think. I was like, oh my God. 2 weeks later, that was Archangel Michael. And I was like, what is going on? God is sending me an archangel to somebody that is, I'm still thinking negative thoughts, right? I'm not worthy, right? Why is he sending him to me? So you see how those negative thoughts will still come to you, even though you've had the most, now you've just met an archangel in the flesh. So you see, your thoughts are powerful. I still kept thinking I was unworthy. Father 2 years ago just showed me how worthy of love I was, right? But the ego doesn't like that. He doesn't want you to feel that way. The ego knows that the moment you feel that way, it's his death, right? Because he no longer exists. He's terrified of the non-physical. It means his death. So I crashed for 2.5 hours on the couch. I wake up, it's broad daylight. And I'm like, how am I not fired? I don't know. But I started working, and it was that moment. And then I walk into a moment where I'm on the couch. As I told you about that first out of body experience, right? Then Archangel Michael. So now I'm going to have another out of body experience. This is the day Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills Monday Night Football game. He had his heart attack. I watched the heart attack happen, but then that moment, I had just laid back, and all of a sudden, woof, I was out of my body. I was feeling tingly, and I was just in a good mood, good vibe, and I was out. Now I'm on this beach somewhere. It was beautiful. And I'm like, I feel this presence, and there was a presence walking towards me. But to my right, as I'm walking down this beach, beautiful water coming in, it was warm, sun was over here. Oh, it was beautiful. And I said, who are you? And I'm like, he goes, I'm Jeffrey. I've been with you from the beginning. And I said, Jeffrey? I was like, I can't call you Jeffrey. Man, that's a Toys R Us giraffe. I mean, like, I said, John, how about John? But I quit calling him John. He's Jeffrey. I mean, I love him. He's always with me. I feel him, his presence. So I said, Jeffrey, I've been here before. This feels, and I said, how many times have I done? How many times have I done? How many times have I died? He said, Jason, you're ancient. He says, and the number popped into my head instantly, 3,200. I've died over 3,200 times, and woof, I was back in my body. And when I got back in my body, Damar Hamlin was just left the field. And I'm like, ancient? The hell does ancient mean? I said, 3,200 times. And I was like, now I had to go on more of a research. And I eventually found out what ancient means. And I was in a NDE group, a spiritual group. I like to help people that have had a recent one that, they're very, they need comfort. They're scared. They're, what happened? So I'm there to help people. And he's like, he says, the ancient reference meant, he said, that you've been on this earth 20 to 30,000 years. He says, you've been walking this earth helping people for a very long time. And I said, wow, wow. I was like, wow. And he said, you're very important. And I said, we're all important. He goes, yeah, but you have been helping people for a very long time. And I was like, wow, wow. So the truths, when you ask questions to the non-physical home, they will be answered. They will come. It takes time to go from there to here. So it may be a book. It may be that person that you bumped into that I've never seen again, but he answered the question. I was meant to be there. There are no coincidences in this world. They do not exist. There are no accidents. Now, stubbing your toe is an accident, but you and I meeting, no, not. It was planned long before we came here. So in that aspect, I was like, wow. Okay. And then now we're going to come back to my next meeting with Archangel Michael.
Before we go there,
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about how you said everything is planned before we even know about it. How does that fit into free will?
So like I said, when we come here, we're role playing for one another. There's things that you want to experience, right? But let's take you and I. You came to ask me about this experience. All right. So you and I, we're not male and female, but we got together. Like, would you do this for me? Sure. And there's some people, a soul maybe up there. Would you rate me? No. Would you? You go to all your besties. Would you run me over with a car? No. Would you, so, and finally, fine. All right. Yeah, I get to experience it. Then we get here and we experience this and we're like, okay, being raped wasn't very fun. I got hit by and run over by a car. That really wasn't fun. And then what do? What's the lesson in it? Could be anything, right? For the person, the woman that was, assaulted, she may need to learn how to forgive, or the person may need to learn how to love. There's always a higher meaning to the experience you're growing from, that you're going through. It's to learn. It isn't to hamper you or kill you. Okay. It's to help you grow. But what happens? We get stuck in the pain. Why would you want to relive that moment, as in your moment, for the last 20 years? Right? You're reliving that moment. Why? It's not there. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. You haven't made it yet. Everything's in the universe is happening right now. So why do you want to beat yourself up for 20 years over an event that no longer exists? Move on. Forgive that person. And that's where forgiveness comes, but it starts with you first. So yes, we plan those lives. We plan these experiences. We plan these road bumps, these speed bumps, these obstacles in our path. Some of them are less challenging. Some of them are quite challenging, right? But then what do we get caught up in? We get caught up in the fear, the guilt, and the pain. And then we stop living because we're stuck, right? And I want you to be unstuck. I want you to cut it off and say, it did happen to me, but what happened to you? I became stronger. Yes, you did. You've learned to love, didn't you? Yes. Now cut it off. Move. It doesn't exist. And that's why I'm here. I want people to know who they are, how powerful they are, that they hold their pain, their suffering is their salvation. Look at it, fix it, love it. Love that person that hurt you, because that person that hurt you was just another version of you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Forgiveness is so important. We forgive not for the other person, but for our own healing. So,
And that's the first step. And that's when I was struggling after my NDE. Guilt, the shame. I knew I shouldn't have been there. Right. So as I'm stomping through my place here, I'm like, look, man, you picked the wrong guy. Okay. you picked the wrong, I'm sobbing, I'm crying, and I'm selling my furniture to eat. My, my vehicle's been repossessed. You know, I'm on my own here. And I was like, you picked the wrong guy. Okay. And this is the first time I heard my father speak to me loud and clear in a very fatherly voice. And, as I said, should have picked the Pope, a bishop, somebody worthy of, and it was as clear as day. He said, why not? You are my son, in a very loving, gentle voice that I was like, I dropped to my knees at the end of my bed. And I put up my hands and I said, all that I am you. And I had no idea the power of that statement at that time. And if you listen to those words, and I don't know where they came from because I have no clue. For all that I am you. That was me acknowledging the fact that I am God. We are all God. We are all gods. Jesus said it in the Bible. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but I had to do research on the Bible, and I came across that verse. And it was, he said, I and the Father are one. Again, he's saying, I am God. And he said it around not only his disciples, but others. They picked up stones to stone him. And he said, for which good works that I have shown you from the Father am I to be stoned? And they said, for your good works not, but you being a man, make yourself God. And his reply, and it is written in the Bible because I found it, his reply was, is it not written in your law? I said, you are gods. And he repeated it, isn't it written in your law? I said, you are gods. There it is. He says it right there in front of everybody 2,000 years ago. We are all gods. We are all the direct manifestations of our Father. And I'm sorry, somebody was
it's okay.
trying to, I'm sorry. So I was like, and that statement rang true. So then I realized how powerful our thoughts are. We are, and somebody asked me, then why is there so much evil? Why is there so much pain? Why is there so much suffering? Because you believe in it. Those are your thoughts. That's what you're projecting out into the physical world, and you're creating it right now. No, right. God created the universe. God created it. No, we did. And the universe wasn't created in 7 days. It's the biggest pile of crap there is. The universe is still being created by us right now through our very thoughts, through our love, through our affection, through our forgiveness. The universe is growing rapidly. So to hear that the universe was created in 7 days, nah, no. The Bible is wrong. The Catholic Church knows it. And I'm an advocate for it. I left the church 2 years ago. And I'm deeply and profoundly spiritual. My Father comes first before me, before my children. And I've learned how to meditate through a spiritual experience, which I'll get into in a minute. But it was that revelation of knowing who I am, what I am. And that when I look at myself, I am not a body. I'm not a male. I've never been a male. I've driven a male around a few times. I've driven a female. I've given birth and I've had children, So we are here for the experience of a physical existence. And that's it. There's nothing real here. There's nothing that can hurt you. You've never felt pain. And it's simply, we are living in the greatest love story ever. We've just forgotten it, So we're going to fast forward to now, last March, coming out of sushi. There's this bum sitting by the back of my Jeep. And the girl I was with at the time, I was going to try dating again, and I wasn't ready for it. So as we walk up, he's oddly familiar. but this time, same haircut, same beard, except it's a different color, just different hobo looking clothes. When I first met him, hobo looking clothes, just ratty, just so he's in all this like 70s gear, like old, dirty, He says, "Hi." He's got this beautiful, "How are you?" And I'm like, I'm good. How are you? And she's like freaking out. "Why are you talking to a bum?" And I'm like, "Come on." And he says, "You love video games, don't you?" How the hell do you know that? So now I'm back into the bathroom. And I'm like, "What's going, And I'm like, she's trying to talk. I'm like, "Hold on." And he says, something about money. He's like, wealth and stuff. And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "You're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel." I said, "I'm past the bottom of the barrel, man. He goes, "Yeah." He says, "I'm here in Wisconsin to help a girl go through a divorce." And he looked right at, and she was like, "I'm here to tell her she needs to get an attorney and she needs to," and telling very intimate details that there's no way he could have known. Right. And she's, "Can I go? Can I go sit in the Jeep?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." She literally ran around and shut and locked the door. And I turn around and he's like, he says, started talking about something else and about video games and stuff like that. And I said, "Yeah." I started talking about love. And I said, he goes, "It's really about the love." And I go, "Yes." He goes, "No, it's really about the love." And he gave me a fist bump. And I said, and I fist bumped him back. And I go, I said, "You're right. The only thing that matters is love." I said, "I had a near death experience in 2020." And he goes, "I know you did." And I'm like, "Okay." I turn to see if she's okay. Now he's standing in front of me. I'm like, "When you get up off the ground, you're going to make some noise. I don't care who you are. You're going to hear your feet shuffle or you're going to hear something scrape." He's just standing in front of me, like, huh. And he had a cane. So he's walking with a limp. No noise. And he goes, "You're Jason, right?" Oh, uh, yes. Yes, I am. He goes, "Would you walk with me? Could you carry my bag?" He had a bag of clothes. So he's walking with his cane. He's, "I'm an alcoholic." So I'm sorry. He says, "I came into some money, about $110,000. I said, "You drank $110,000 worth of booze last month." He goes, "Yes, I'm an alcoholic." Guy standing right now, "You don't stink. You're living on the streets, but yet there's no dirt." It's like, you would reek. If you eat enough garlic, you smell like a garlic. He had no smell. His hands were cold, not cold like outside, but there's no blood in it. You ever touch a dead body? It's cold. It's what it felt like. So when I gave him the fist bump, it was like, it's kind of weird. Well, maybe he's cold. He has a jacket on. So as he was walking with me, and we're walking down there to this restaurant that he wanted to go to, because I'm still off in Never Neverland. I'm trying to put two and two together, and I'm just lost. So he's like, "Would you be okay with that?" And I'm like, "Making 110,000? Oh my. Well, of course." I said, "A year?" "Yeah." He goes, "No." I said, "A month?" "Oh, please. I wouldn't even know what to do." And I'm like, and I started thinking, and he goes, and he was ahead of me a little bit. And he stopped and he looked over his shoulders. "Would you be willing to relocate for $110,000 a month? Where do you want me to go?" "Sure." I said, and he says, just like that. He goes, "Sacramento?" I said, "California?" Oh, I said, "Out of all the places you want to send me, California." And I'm like, "Sure." He goes, "Great. Walk with me." And this was last March. So it's been a while. But people say, "But it didn't happen yet." You got to remember, things take time to catch up to us. They don't just, I'm not at that level that I can make it just happen right now, right? So, and I just explained this to somebody. He says, "How come you're not there?" I said, "When the time is right, Michael will come again and say it's time. You need to move." Okay. And at that point in time, I will literally quit my job. I'll pack my things up and I will drive to California, Sacramento. What I'm going to do there, where I'm going to go, I have no idea. But my point is I trust the non-physical with all of my being. If they want me and they need me in California, then in California I shall go. And so at that point, I'm still, I turned around, and as I was walking away, and now mind you, he's at the bar, right? I turn around, who's there? As I'm walking out the door, nobody. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm driving home, and she goes, "I'm so tired. I have to," she goes, she goes, "You look tired." I said, "I'm wiped out." Like, I'm driving, and I said, "Oh my God, I know who that was." She goes, "Who was that?" I said, "That was Archangel Michael, except brown hair. Now he's got red hair." Ah, same face, just different clothes. So it just, so things right now are happening very, very much for me. Um, so 2023, August, a couple months prior to that, I really wasn't feeling well. It's June, July, so it's midsummer. Um, Something's just not right. I'm feeling odd, you know, and became very sick. I began missing work. Like I couldn't get out of bed sick. Like I was like literally, I could not move a finger. I couldn't bat an eye. I was so tired. I'm like, what? Missing work. So my boss calls me up. "I need you to go to the doctor," because he came in. I was a maintenance guy, building maintenance. So I was in there working on something. I'm trying to hang a light and my hands are shaking. "Go to the doctor now." Fine. Go to the doctor. Could find nothing wrong with me. Nothing. Like now I'm beginning to like, what is going on? So EKG, blood pressure, everything. They got me signed up for another appointment. And so come give my doctor's excuse. They fire me. The very next day, fired. All right, that's fine. I was sick. So it's now August 8th. I had to go to a court date and I'm shaking uncontrollably. Police come in and say, "Are you all right? Do we need to get you?" I said, "No, I just got me in front of the judge before anybody got out. Come home, lay on the couch, and I'm shaking uncontrollably. I'm in so much pain." And I'm like, I want to get some sleep. And all of a sudden, it was like a shot of heroin came over me. I'm laying down on the couch this way. So the back of the couch is this way. And then I'm just laying there. And all of a sudden, I just, oh, this feels so good. And all of a sudden, I felt two hands reach inside my stomach, wrist deep. And they started doing this. About a minute or two, just hands. I can feel fingers moving inside my guts, like right here, moving stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, I feel all pain gone, all pain gone. And then came the dramatic weight loss. In that a month of August, I went from 257 pounds down to about 190. I lost 60 some pounds, over 60 pounds in a month. My waistline went from almost a 40-inch. I'm down into a 31, 32-inch waist. I mean, people were like, whoa, you know. Then the struggle, I couldn't find a job. Nobody would hire me. Nobody would hire me. I went through this all over again, you know, and fighting off eviction, fighting off this, applying to jobs left and right. And I heard meditate. What? I'll try it. I'll try it, you know. So I had begun to meditate in August, began to really eat healthy, like protein, eggs, health, I mean, healthy eating, healthy living. I mean, I'll drink about 8 or 9 bottles of water a day, cut out everything. And, I lost all this weight. But the point was, I started to meditate. And I was in a bad spot one night. My back was hurting and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't lay down. The pain was excruciating. So I learned how to meditate. I began to feel my energy. I began to feel what I felt in my NDE, but this is of my own accord. I am reaching my own energy. So I'm laying there in bed. I couldn't lay in one spot for more than a half a second. I'd have to roll a half, and I began to cry. It hurt so much. Walked through the house, came back and lied down, and all of a sudden it said heart mind. So I lay down and I closed my eyes and I went, heart mind are one. Heart mind for about 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden it was just like woof. Woo. I was humming like I was either in my body, out of my body, just above my body, and all of a sudden I felt like a ring come from the top of my head down to like my neck. It was like a smoke ring, like ring about this big, but it was all energy. And it stopped. And I said, my eyes aren't open. And I said, make it go away. It traveled down my spine and then it hit the pain. It hit my lower back. And it went from 1,000 down to a 20. And another ring came down. And I said, make it go away. It went down my spine and just all pain gone. And I was like, I'm still humming, but I was so tired that I had fallen asleep. I can control my power, the same power Jesus had. You, I, and everybody else are no different than Jesus. We are exactly the same. We have the exact same powers as Jesus. He learned to control those. He learned to access them. When he was younger, he traveled across North Africa into India. He learned how to meditate from the masters, the Hindus and all those types of experiences of raising the dead or healing the sick or healing a wound is nothing. That's been happening for centuries and millennia over there. It's everybody can, right? It's over here in the West that this is a taboo subject. No, no, no. Jesus was our Lord and Savior. He's the only one. No. So he learned how to meditate. He learned how to access that power that I just accessed myself to heal myself. Okay. So he traveled back in North Africa, went back home to his wife, Mary, started his practice in his own home. He just learned how to control it. He said, look, people, this isn't unique to just me. You all can do this. Wake up. Realize who you are. You are a divine being of love and light. You are no different than I am. He just took those 2-3 years to sit and learn how to meditate every day to access those powers. Now, we don't have that opportunity, right? Because the busy world that we're in, we couldn't sit there for 2 years. We'd be living in a ditch somewhere. But, different times, different places. So when he came back, he started that ministry. And that's what you know of Jesus, the miracles that he performed, who he was, right? But was only a percentage of who he was. He didn't come here to start a religion, okay, at all. He didn't come here to start Catholicism. He came here to wake us up. Wake up, everybody, wake up. This is who you are. You're just as beautiful as I am. He loved everybody. He never judged anybody, anything, any situation. He felt empathy and love, whether it was a woman of ill repute, instead of condemning and judging, he was like, poor girl, what happened to her that led her to such a hard, just love, and that's the beauty of who we are. We are simply love. That's it. In my job and I'm going to pick up where he left off. I'm going to wake as many people up as I can. We're in the midst of a huge constant shift right now from 3D to 5D. Everybody's going to. You're not going to be left behind. Some may, you might be the last one, but it all comes to your energy. We are all energy. And the best form of energy is love. It heals, it cures, and forgiveness. And when you can truly do those, you can live in love, you know? And that's how I choose to live. I live in love. It's not to say that I'm not going to go through challenging times. I just went through one in August. I'm still trying to dig myself out of that hole. But that's where the manifestations come in and the meditating. As I created a mantra, and I tell in my mantra, I don't accept this anymore. Yeah, the world I created was hard. It was rough, out of hate, anger, and rage, because I was lied to and manipulated by the elders, my parents, grandparents. They were lied to, so the wheels on the bus go round and round. So yeah, the church lied to me, but I am my own being. I came here of my own accord, and this is what I created. And I say, no more. No, I'm done with it. I don't need it. I've learned. I've got it. This is what I want, and this is what I will have. I've sent that out into the non-physical. Will it come? 100%. Yep. But you've got to be willing to receive it. Your energy has to match that. It has to. Otherwise, it won't come. You may get $20 here. Oh, that was great. I needed that. You might get $100. It'll come in increments instead of what you want. So be clear on what you want. The non-physical is a genie in the bottle. You ask it, it comes. So I've learned through that your thoughts are very powerful, unspoken or spoken. They're just as powerful. Even if you were like sitting there writing mother, Kim, he's all that negative energy you just sent out just because you didn't speak it, but you send it out. It's going to mingle with more negative energy and it's going to come back to you with more ferocity. And you're like, why does this stuff keep happening to me? What's going on? You see how this works? If you want to live in that lower energy, it's going to come to you. That's what it's going to attract. If you want to live in that high vibration of love and empathy and all of that, that is what is going to come to you. Well, I lived a life of anger, hate, and rage. What is that? That's lower energy. I was way down on the, and then all of a sudden I went from there all the way up to here, then back down to, the middle of the ladder. So I was like, okay. But it really is about your thoughts. They're so powerful. They are so powerful. They create the world you live in to this very millisecond. Your body, you create as we're sitting here right now. You're creating, you're manifesting your vehicle. And really, in reality, if you took your hand, it would go right through it because it's not real. It's basically a hologram, just like Earth, just like the planets, just like the stars. They're holograms. It's just simply a dream. It's crazy though.
That is crazy. That is so many amazing experiences that you had. Thank you so much for sharing them with
Yeah.
me and my viewers. So many details and things I haven't heard about before. I really enjoyed listening. We're close to the end of our time, but I wanted to know if my viewers wanted to reach out to you, if they have any questions, how can they find you?
Well, they can go to my YouTube channel, which you put in the description, but also to really contact me personally would be to go to my website, loveandlightjason.com. You can read through it, and there's a way to contact me in there. If you want a one-on-one session, you can do it, or and stuff like that. But that's how you can find me.
Wonderful. Well, do you have any last words of wisdom for our viewers?
I do. Couple things. All of you who are going to watch this, you are vitally important to what is taking place here in this realm. Make no mistake about it. I love you with all my heart and all that I am. You are never alone, ever alone, never. Your archangel is with you. Your guides are with you. Father hears you, he sees you, and he feels you. This is something you wanted to experience, but you have never, for any amount of time, have been abandoned and left on your own. This world is yours. Create it out of love. If you were sick and you're, and unhappy, change your thoughts, change your frequency, change your vibration. The world is yours. You want $1 million? Take it. But you're never alone, guys. You're never alone. Never. And you never will be alone. You are loved more than you could ever possibly understand. And there are no words in this archaic language, in this vocabulary, that can describe how loved you are. And your Father, God, Source, whoever you want to call him, is anxiously awaiting your return. I love you all.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.